In 1996, the city of Owerri in Imo State, Nigeria, was shaken to its core. The brutal killing of an 11-year-old boy, Anthony Ikechukwu, uncovered something far darker than anyone could have imagined. The web of ritual killings, corruption, and fear. What began as a single murder case spiraled into riots, a decade-long trial, and one of the most infamous criminal sagas in Nigeria's history. This is the story of the Otokoto Murders. To understand the Otokoto Murders, you first have to understand Owerri in the mid-1990s. Owerri was a city on the rise, modern hotels, thriving businesses, and new money everywhere. The city was bubbling, money was flowing. But behind the glitter was something disturbing. Rumors that human body parts were being traded for wealth, power, and protection. It was a gossip on every lips. There was fear everywhere. Behind the scene and at the center of these whispers was a secret group known as the Black Scorpion Gang. They were not just common criminals, they were a network of wealthy businessmen with political ties and deep connections. Their alleged crimes ranged from armed robbery to kidnappings and ritual killings. People feared them, people avoided speaking their names out loud, and for years, the authorities seemed powerless or unwilling to touch them. They carried out series of violent acts and killings. Nobody could confront them. But all of that was about to change. On September 19, 1996, something dramatic happened. 11-year-old boy Anthony Ikechukwu Okoronkwo, the son of a trader, while hawking granite on the streets, was lured into the gates of the popular Otokoto Hotel by a gardener named Innocent Ikechukwu. Anthony was drugged until he fell unconscious. What followed was unspeakable. He was beheaded, his head was literally cut off, his livers and genitals were cut out, and his small body buried within the hotel grounds. Innocent's task was to deliver the boy's severed head to other members of the gang for a ritual. He stuffed it into a black bag and set out to complete his mission. On his way, he boarded a commercial motorcycle. Along the route, policemen stopped him for a routine check. They noticed blood dripping from the bag in his hands. Suspicion grew. When the bag was opened, the shocking contents were revealed. What meant to be another hidden ritual killing was suddenly exposed, and this time, the crime would not stay buried. The discovery ignited shock and outrage. The city of Owerri was about to explode. The murder was quickly linked to the Black Scorpions. At the center of it all was Vincent Duru, the flamboyant yet feared owner of the Otokoto Hotel. On the surface, Duru presented himself as a successful businessman, a man of influence who mingled easily with the wealthy and politically powerful. But beneath that facade was a reputation immersed in fear. His hotel was more than a place for guests. It was whispered to be the beating heart of criminal activity in Owerri. Shady deals were done in its back rooms. Money changed hands in its corridors. Stolen goods passed through its gates. To many, the Otokoto Hotel was not just a business. It was the official headquarters of the Black Scorpion Gang, a safe haven where criminals operated with impunity. The killing of young Anthony was meant to be just another act in the long chain of ritual sacrifices, the kind that had been buried in silence, ignored by authorities and feared by locals. But this time, something broke the cycle. There were witnesses, there was physical evidence, and the people would not keep silence. And for once, the powerful could not bury the truth. What happened at the Otokoto Hotel would pull the marks off Vincent Duru and expose the network of terror he stood at the center of. The police moved quickly to arrest the gardener, Innocent Ikechukwu. At first, it seemed like just another routine arrest in a city where such cases rarely saw the light of justice. But Innocent was different. Unlike so many before him, he was willing to talk. In custody, he began to confess piece by piece. He hinted at something far larger than a single murder. We spoke of a sprawling network of ritual killings, of orders that came from the top, of powerful men who used others as pawns. He promised to name names. He was ready to pull the veil of a secret empire of blood and fear. But he never got the chance. Just 2 days after his arrest, Innocent was found dead in his cell. The police said he was poisoned, but the question remains, who poisoned him? And how could it happen inside the police cell, under supposed state protection? To the public, this was no mystery. They did not believe he simply died. They believed he was silenced, eliminated before he could expose the men who stood behind him. To them, his death was the clearest proof that the rich and powerful were pulling the strings, bending the system, and snuffing out the truth before it could be heard. And this time, the people of Owerri had had enough. The horrible murder of an innocent boy, the suspicious death of the only man who could speak, anger that had simmered for years boiled over. Ordinary citizens, long held captive by fear, decided to fight back. Owerri exploded. What began as scattered protests grew into a wave of fury. Thousands of residents, men, women, youths poured into the streets, grieving and angry. They turned their rage on the symbols of power. Properties linked to the Black Scorpions and their allies were destroyed. The Otokoto Hotel was set ablaze. Its walls crumbled as flames consumed the building. Homes of the wealthy elites were attacked. Cars were burned in the streets. Shops were looted. The city that had lived in silence for years was now roaring. The message was clear. The people would no longer live under the shadow of ritual killings, impunity, and corruption. For the first time, ordinary citizens fought back, not with whispers, but with fire. The riots left the authorities with no choice. The city was in flames, the people were restless, and the world was watching. Nigeria itself was watching. For the first time, the powerful men at the center of the storm could not hide. Vincent Duru and several of his network were arrested and paraded as suspects. The case dragged on in court, slowed down by technical delays and endless obstacles. Evidence was challenged, witnesses disappeared, appeals piled up, years slipped by, while the community that had risen up in fury waited for ending that seemed forever out of reach. It was not until 2003, 7 years after Anthony's murder, that a verdict was finally delivered. The court found Vincent Duru and some of his associates guilty. They were sentenced to death by hanging. Others received lengthy prison terms. For once, men of influence, of wealth, and deep political connections were held accountable. It was a rare victory. The Otokoto Murders are remembered as more than just a crime story. They exposed the dark reality of ritual killings and laid bare the corruption that shielded the powerful in our society. And they showed what happens when ordinary citizens, pushed to the breaking point, rise up to demand justice. For Owerri, the memory remains a scar that never fully healed. For Nigeria, it became a symbol of both the dangers of unchecked power and the possibility of accountability. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories like this.